Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Batra, page 68b, top of the page, the words El Laman Amar Bar Mach Vonisa. Amar Tanakama Genunisa. Umehadar le Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Bar Machvonisa. Misavrit Mai Shulachin Genunaisa. Lo Mai Shulachin Bagi Dichtiv Visholech Maim al Pnei Chutzos. Aval Bar Machvonisa Lo Mizdaban. Viata Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Mimar Defilu Bar Machvonit Mizdaban. But according to the one who says that Santar means the land registrar, it is reasonable the first time the Mishnah said that the gardens within the city are included in the sale of the city. And Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel responded to him that the land registrar is included. How are the two connected? The Gemara answers, do you maintain that what is meant by Shalachin is gardens? This is not the case. Rather, what is meant by Shalachin? This is referring to the fields that surround the city, as it is written in the book of Job, chapter 5 and verse 10, who gives rain upon the earth and sends, Sholeach, waters upon the fields. So we see that Sholeach is associated with fields. According to the first Tana, it is specifically the fields that are sold with the city, but the land registrar is not sold. And Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel comes to say that even the land registrar is also sold. So, registrar, it's not helping me too much. I don't know if anyone else out there is. So I think maybe that, a rule of pinky and a rule of thumb is basically if I don't know, whatever, a word, I don't really understand it, I just get its number. So, if I don't know Santer, for example, I just look at its gematria. And you come with a result of 319. And then, that's the whole idea about gematriona, is that really it has a wide range of things that 319 can be. You can associate it with anything. 319 can be, for example, your credit card charge went through. In English gematria, that equals 319. So the Santer can be associated with the credit card going through. But something's very interesting. Is when you swipe that credit card and it actually goes through, those are the weirdest times that you gain an insight. So what if you knew that the credit card charge went through and your mind registered 319, right? And immediately you're going to associate with Santar. Now you'll know that maybe if you were in real estate, you bought something, you sold something, registrar came up because it was next to the. Basically what I'm saying is that everything is connected. And if anything is given a number, anything can be connected with anything else if you have the right numbers. And that's the power, the beauty, the brilliance of gematria that I think many people are missing. If you limit and you say only if I have a Mesorah can I do this gematria, you're going to limit so many different associations. Because it has the same number and you can associate it, but no, I don't have a Mesorah for it, so I can't associate it. No, it's the same number, you can associate it. I went off on a tangent there, Shtickle, but I think it was worth it. The Gemara suggests coming here a proof that the following brayso from the following brayso, Rabbi Yehuda says the Santar is not sold with the city, this registrar, whatever it is, but the city scribe, the Ankolemos, is sold with it. What it is not clear from the fact that the city scribe is a man and the Santar is also a man. Oh, I guess the Santar is a dude. Ganze. It's like traffic data company. The Gemara rejects this proof. Are the cases comparable? This case is as it is, and that case is as it is. The santer means fields, and not the land registrar. Umi matzis amritachi, yohachi ktani seifa. We're doing good on time here. The Gemara asks, how can you say that according to Yehuda, the fields surrounding the city are not so along with it? Isn't it taught clear in the latter clause of the Brisa? Haktani Seifa Avol, Lo Shiara, Velo Benosea, Velo Chor Shenamu Krotzin Lo, Velo Bebarin Shel Chayo, Veshel Oifos Veshel Dogim, Viamrinon, Mai Shirayo, Bizle, Ma Bizle, Amar Rabbi Abba, Piske Bagi, Hu de la Mizdabani, Ho Bagi Yatzman Mizdabani. The Gemara asks, how can you say that according to Yehuda, the fields surrounding the city are not so along with it? But isn't it taught in the latter clause in this Brita, but when one sells a city, he has not sold its remnants, and not its daughters, meaning the nearby rural villages, tongue twister, rural villages, and not the woods that are set aside and designated for the city, and not for the enclosures, for animals, for birds, and for fish. And we said in explanation, what is meant by its remnant, bizli. Not the snack, just bizli. The Gemara asked, what is the meaning of bizli? Rav Abba said, the strips of the fields that are separated from the main fields by a stretch that cannot be cultivated. From here it may be inferred that it is the strips of the fields that are not sold with the city, but the fields themselves are sold with it. Eifoch. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Santer Mahur and Kulmus and Mocher. The most suggests reverse Eifoch, like Hafuch. Reverse the statement found in the Brita, so that Rabbi Yehuda says that the Santer, now understood to mean fields, is sold within the city, but the city scribe is not sold with it. Umi matzis amrit Rabbi Yehuda ke Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel savir le veha Rabbi Yehuda ke Rabbanan svira le tiktoni seifa avolo shea avolo benosea ve'ilu Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel ha'omer ha'amar machar esa'ir machar benosea Detalya hamocher es ha'ir lo machar es benosea. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel omer hamocher es ha'ir machar benosea. The Gemara asks, how can you say that Rabbi Yehuda holds in accordance to the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel? To the point that you adduce proof from the words of Rabbi Yehuda with regard to the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. But doesn't Rabbi Yehuda hold in accordance to the opinion of the rabbis, as it is taught in the latter clause of that same Brita? But when one sells a city, he does not sell all its remnants, and he does not sell its daughters. In other words, the nearby rural villages. Whereas with regard to Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, doesn't he say that the one who sold the city, its daughters, along with it? Daughters meaning it's just an expression for nearby rural villages. As it is taught in the Brita, one who sells a city has not sold its daughters. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel disagrees, and he says, one who sells a city has sold its daughters. The Gemara answers, this does not prove that Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, as it may be suggested that Rabbi Yehuda holds in accordance to the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel with regard to one issue, that the fields that surround the city are included in the sale, and disagrees with him with regard to another issue, as according to Rabbi Yehuda, the nearby villages are not sold along with the city. ולא בברים של חיה ושל אויפויס ושל דוגים. ורמינו, I will ask you a stire. היו לא יבונויס. אין קורס עמו. היה לו חלק אחד בים, וחלק אחד ביבשו. בברים של חיה ושל עופות ושל דגים, הרי אלו נמכרים בו. The Batra teaches when one sells a city, he has not sold, among other things, the enclosures for animals, for birds, or for fish. And the Gemara raises a contradiction. Ve'raminu, uraminu, I will ask you a contradiction from another Batra. If the city has daughters, in other words, nearby villages, they are not sold along with it. If it has one part on the sea and one part on dry land, or if it has enclosures for animals, for birds, or for fish, these are also sold along with the city. Lo kasha, this is nicht kasha. Hod nogiach koi lagav, hod nogiach koi labar, veha ketani, velo esacho shinamtzin lo ema muktzin mina. The Gemara answers that this is not difficult, as a distinction can be made from between different cases. Here, the one Batra addresses animal enclosures whose openings face inward toward the city, and they are therefore considered a part of the city, whereas there, the other Batra addresses animal enclosures whose openings face outward, away from the city, and therefore they are not included in its sale. The Gemara raises a difficulty, but doesn't the Batra teach? And he has not sold the woods that are set aside for the city, indicating that they face the city, and nevertheless they are not sold along with the city. The Gemara answers, say that the Batra should be amended so that it reads instead, and he has not sold the woods that are set apart from the city, that are at a distance and do not face the city. And that's the end of that. We're starting a new Mishnah with a couple of paragraphs, and then we'll call it a daf. Call it a day, call it a daf. New Mishnah. Moiches l'sodim moiches l'savonim shem etzok ve'esakonim שבכרם שהויו לצורכוי ואת התבואה שהיא מחוברת לקרקע ואת החיצס הקונים שהוא פחוסה מבייס רובה ואת השומרה שאינה עשויה בתית ואת החרוב שאינו מורכב ואת בתולת השקמה. The Mishnah says, one who sells a field without specifying what is included in the sale has sold the stones in the field that are for its use, and the reeds in the vineyard that are for its use, and the produce that is still attached to the ground, and the cluster of reeds that occupy less than the area required for sowing a quarter cob of seed, beit rova, and the watch station that is not plastered with clay, and the young carob tree that has not yet been grafted, and the untrimmed sycamore that is still young, aval lo machar, lo es ha'avanim she'ein letzorcha, velo es ha'konim shebekerem she'ein letzorkoi, velo es ha'tevua shehi telusha min ha'karka, בזמן שאומר לו, היא וכל מה שבסויכו, הרי כולון מכורין, ובין כך לא ימוכר לא את חיצס הקונים, שהיא בית רובה, ולא את השומרה, שהיא עשויה בתית, ולא את החרוב המורכב, ולא את סדן השקמה. But he has not sold along with the field the stones that are not designated for the use of the field, and not the reeds in the vineyard that are not designated for its use, and not the produce that is already detached from the ground. When the seller says to the buyer, I am selling it to you, and everything that is in it, all these components are sold along with the field. Both in this case, where he executes the sale without specification, and in that case, where he adds the phrase that he is selling everything that is in the field, he has not sold a cluster of reeds that occupy a beit rova or more, as they are considered a separate field. And he has not sold the watch station that is plastered with the clay, and not the carob tree that has been grafted, and not the sycamore trunk. All of these entities are significant in their own right, and they have a status dependent from that of the fields, and they are therefore not included in the sale of the field.